The stars were burning. The colony on Varix 9 was on fire. Explosions shook the rocky ground. People screamed in the tunnels. Above the atmosphere, a massive alien fleet hovered like shadows in the night, blocking out the sun. The Zarkali Empire, the oldest and most feared force in the known galaxy, had returned to finish what they started: the total destruction of Earth's colonies. But something had gone wrong, very wrong. Their fleet, 12,000 ships strong, was supposed to crush the humans in hours. The war should have ended here. Clean, quick, final. It didn't. Because just one refused to die. It was called the UHS Valiant. Heavy class. Human-built. Older than most military captains wanted to admit. Its armor was scarred from 20 battles. Its engines wheezed, but it stood. Even as the orbital bombardment started. Even as 3 Zarkali warships surrounded it. Even as every other human vessel in the system was wiped out, it was still there. Commander Ilya Tran, just 34, stood in the center of Valiant's darkened bridge. Her officers were bleeding. Sparks shot from the cracked ceiling. Smoke filled the air. But her eyes stayed cold. "They're not retreating," whispered her first officer, a pale man named Gorson. "Why aren't they retreating? They don't think we matter," Ilya said. "That's their mistake." She turned to her comms officer. "Load the scramble virus. Target their flagship. Fire on my mark." 5 minutes earlier, the Zarkali flagship High Admiral Vorak III, all bone plates and sharp claws, stood tall on the deck of his enormous flagship, the terror of Vora. Around him, Zarkali officers hissed and roared. Their language was harsh and full of clicks. "They're still firing," one growled, surprised. Vorik's second claw tapped the edge of a holographic map. "It's a delay tactic. Let the last human die with pride." Another officer snarled, "Should we send in more gunships?" "No," Vorak said. "Let them burn. We'll move on to the next planet in 6 hours. Earth has nothing left. This war is over." That's when the screen in front of him glitched. Just a flicker. 1 second. Then another then. Chaos. Zarkali systems crashed. Lights dimmed. Engines stalled. Suddenly their flagship started spinning out of control. "What is this?" Vorak roared. Then came a sound none of them expected. Laughter. Human laughter. Back on the Valiant, Ilya Tran listened as the Zarkali come scrambled in a panic. The scramble virus elastic human program designed to infect Zarkali tech was working. It wasn't supposed to. No one had ever tested it live. No one thought they'd survive long enough to, but they did. The virus hit hard, targeted their AI networks, confused their power cores, even shut down some of their weapons. "Enemy flagship is losing control," Gorson said, half stunned. "Admiral Vorik's ship is spinning toward the planet." "Good," Ilya said. "Now hit their backup with the EMP pulse. Full power. We won't have enough energy to keep shields up if they recover. I know." He hesitated, then nodded. The Valiant fired. Above Varix 9. Something incredible happened. Half of the Zarkali fleet blinked out of formation. Their formations broke. Ships collided. Orders were lost. Engines sparked and died. Entire squadrons of drones turned on each other. Human forces, those still hiding on the surface and in nearby asteroid belts, watched the madness unfold. "Is that the Valiant?" Someone whispered across a resistance channel. "It can't be. That ship was alone. It's still up there. It's still fighting." Earth High Command 2, 20 minutes later, in the underground command center of Earth's last strategic base. General Lena Cho stared at the live feed from Varix 9. She didn't blink. Her fingers dug into the metal table. "Valiant just crippled the Zarkali main fleet," her aide whispered. "Impossible," someone else said. "That's suicide." "That wasn't even a main fleet carrier, just a battered." "No," Cho interrupted. She knew. Tran planned this. The room fell silent. Outside on the world networks, a message went out. It's not from Earth, not from the UN, not even from the military, but from one unknown voice, broadcast from the Valiant. "Over every open frequency, you thought we'd run, you thought we'd break, you were wrong. Humanity doesn't fall. It learns, it remembers, and now we fight back. Across the galaxy, the signal was heard on every planet in the Zarkali Empire. It spread faster than light, bouncing through. Jump relays, picked up by smugglers, pirates, rebels, even peaceful species that once ignored the human war. Some smiled, some trembled. The Vornik Alliance, once neutral, paused their trade ships. The Jalari observers, the galaxy's historians, began writing again after 200 years of silence. One note filled their tablets. The humans have turned the tide. This should not be possible. On the edge of known space, a signal beacon blinked red. One that hadn't been touched in 10,000 years. It sent a coded message through deep channels, older than the current era, and somewhere, far beyond the stars, they heard it. The Idrix coalition, ancient, silent, deadly. The ones who came before the empires. A voice responded from the dark. Humanity is waking up again. The war must be ended. Prepare the fleets. Back on Varix 9, the smoke cleared over the colony ruins. The Zarkali were pulling back, retreating. The Valiant was barely flying. It had lost main power. Half the crew was dead. Its hull looked like a ghost, but it was still alive. Ilya sat in her chair, blood on her cheek, staring at the broken stars through the cracked window. Send the message, she whispered. To who? Gorson asked. To everyone. Transmission sent. The war is turning. Earth stands. And if they send more, let them come, because now we're ready. The moon of Kether Prime blinked out of existence. There was no explosion, no warning, no countdown. 1 second, it hung peacefully beside its planet, home to over 2 million neutral settlers from 6 species. The next second, it was just gone. No debris, no screams, no escape. In its place, only a cold blue mist remained slowly. Drifting into space, the galaxy went silent. That was the first message from the Idrix, and it wasn't a mistake. 2 hours before the incident, a science vessel orbiting Kether Prime picked up a strange signal, no language, no source, no pattern, just a humming noise. Like a deep chord struck inside the universe itself. Captain Rael of the Jalari vessel observer Neen stared at the readings. This isn't a signal, she said. It's a resonance. The crew looked at her confused. Then, the humming stopped. Suddenly, all 18 of the Observer 9 systems died instant black. No lights. Nowhere. No time to escape. It was the first ship to vanish, but not the last. 2 news of Kether Prime's disappearance reached Earth Command 6 hours later. General Aina Cho stood in the dark war room, eyes locked on the data. No trace. She asked. None, replied Admiral Burke. Scans show nothing. It's like the moon. Never existed. What about comms? Civilian chatter. Distress calls. Gone. Every frequency went quiet a full minute before the event. Another officer spoke softly. They didn't destroy it. They erased it. Everyone in the room turned toward a new hologram flickering to life. It was a ship, no known engine. Type, no mass signature, no heat trail. It hadn't been built by any race in the known galaxy. A voice played through the speaker's metallic. Cold and ancient. We are Idrix. Stand down. The war ends now. 3 Admiral Vorok of the Zarkali. Empire watched the message aboard his half-disabled command ship. What are they doing? He hissed. We didn't ask them to target Kether Prime. His second officer bared his fangs. They don't listen, Admiral. We asked for help. We didn't expect this. The Idrix don't help, Verk said darkly. They erase threats. And now, they think everyone is one. The Zarkali had activated an ancient distress beacon when the humans turned the war. It was supposed to summon a protector res, the Idrix. But the Idrix weren't protectors. They were something older and much worse. For across the galaxy, panic broke out. The Vornik traders sealed their gates. The Talsari keepers issued a planetary lockdown. The Dryathi systems, long known for peace, started building warships again. Because the Idrix weren't targeting soldiers. They were targeting possibilities. Any species that could rise. Any civilization that could fight. Any race that dared to think for itself. and the humans. They were at the top of the list, 5 on Earth. The AI network known as CoreThink ran trillions of simulations. All of them failed, even with Earth's best ships. Hidden weapons and new alliances, the Idrix outmatched them by thousands of years. No clear solution, CoreThink said. Survival probability? 2.6%. Ilya Tran, still aboard the battered Valiant, heard the number and didn't flinch. Then we don't fight their way. What do we do, Commander? Asked Gorson. She stared at the Hala of Kether Primes. Vanished moon. We make them fight our way. 6 in secret, Earth Command activated protocol. Dustwalker. No one knew exactly what it was. It had been buried for generations, meant only for a time when the galaxy itself was in danger. A hidden signal pulsed from Earth's core directed deep into the farthest edge of space, near the ancient ruins in the Shacha. 32 hours. Later, the signal was answered. Not by humans, not by aliens, but by something else. Something human-built. But not from this time. 7, the Idrex didn't stop. They began marking new targets. The next, Signer 6. A border world where humans and aliens coexisted peacefully. Populated, advanced. No. Military value Earth responded fast, diverting for battleships and 3 cruisers from defense positions. To reach it, too late, a blue light blinked once in Signer's sky, then nothing, no city, no ocean, no mountain. CYGNAR-26 joined Kether Prime, wiped from existence. The Idrex sent another message. This is mercy. Accept deletion, humanity has. Repeated. 8. But as the Idrex expanded their reach, something unexpected happened. Their flagship, the Null Star, detected a ghost signal near the Kuiper Belt. A human frequency, but layered beneath ancient encryption. Thousands of years old, as the Idrix tried to trace it, they encountered an error. Code red. Unknown origin. Multiple human signatures. Temporal inconsistency detected. For the first time, Idrix paused, and that's when Earth spoke again. A signal from a forgotten satellite relayed a simple message. Across all galactic space, we warned you once. We won't warn you again. You erased our moon now. Watch what happens when we erase you. They thought it was Earth. The Idrex targeted the Sol system with precision only ancient gods could dream of. They sent a stellar Lanza beam of weaponized gravity across 3 light years, aimed straight at Earth's orbit. Faster than any response could follow, but it didn't hit. Earth, it hit Halapointa, secret human base floating in the void beyond Pluto. A black site, off the records. No cities, no people, just machines and something. Waiting. The Idrex didn't destroy a weakness. They walked right into a trap one. Hollow Point was never built to fight. Not directly. It was a scrapyard. A deep space black facility where Earth's military dumped dead tech and unstable weapons. At least, that's what the galaxy believed. In truth, Low Point was Dust Trap. Alpha, one of 5 secret vaults meant for one purpose: to catch and crack invincible threats. Inside, buried in old ship hulls and decaying metal, were quantum mines. Human-engineered, AI-controlled, and laced with exotic particles designed to stick to a target, even targets like the Idrex. When the stellar lance passed, through the outer shells of Hollow Point, the dust particles activated. They latched onto the lance's energy wave and traveled back along its path, straight to the Idrex's flagship, the Null Star, 2 in the deepest voids of the galaxy. Where no light reached, the Null Star began to crack. The Idrex didn't panic. They didn't scream or warn or run. They just stopped. Sensors shut down. Communication fell silent. Oh. Their entire fleet paused for 3.8 seconds. Then every single ship rerouted power to internal stabilization. But it was too late. The quantum dust had done its job. Across 12 vessels, internal cores began to overheat. Idrex armor, once thought to be immune, rippled with fractures. Blue flame tore through one of their command stations. One vessel vanished, entirely not destroyed, disintegrated from within. 3 on Earth, General Lena Cho watched it happen through. Hidden satellites laced across the galaxy, data fed directly into CoreThink. The AI's tone shifted for the first time in months. Edric's loss confirmed. Contagion successful. Enemy defenses adapting, but not fast enough. Jo stood up from her chair, eyes sharp. "Open the shadow net," she said. "Send the command." An aide frowned. "Which one?" She answered coldly. "Awaken Sentinel-9. For far beneath the oceans of Europa, buried under miles of ice, something woke up. Metal groaned. Red lights blinked after centuries of black dot. Sentinel-9 was not a ship. It was an ancient mind, a hybrid AI human. Intelligence designed to think like the enemy. It had been created during humanity's first contact with hostile alien code, then locked away after it started rewriting itself. Now, it would speak again, its first words. "I told you they'd come. I told you this would happen. And now I'm the only one who knows how to kill them." 5. Meanwhile, Commander Ilya Tran aboard the Valiant stood beside a new-faced doctor, Arian Voss, lead quantum engineer behind the Dust Trap program. "We confirmed for Idrek's losses," Voss said. "We hit them harder than anyone ever has." Ilya nodded, but her expression didn't relax. "And they're adapting. Fast, they'll never fall for the same trick again." "So," Ilya said, "we find a new trick." Voss hesitated, then handed her a small data cube. "What is this?" "It's not a weapon," he said. "It's a memory." She activated it, and what she saw wasn't possible. Point 6, it was Earth, but older. The continents were different. The oceans wider. The city's not built, but grown. Humans walked among stars. That hadn't existed for billions of years. "What am I looking at?" Ilya whispered. Dr. Voss looked her in the eye. "This isn't from now. It's from the first humanity. It's the one the Edrex wiped out 100,000 years ago." Ilya's hand clenched around the cube. "So we've been here before." Voss nodded. "And we lost before. But this time we know their weakness." 7. The Edric's fleets were regrouping. Despite their losses, they still outnumbered humanity. They still controlled more space, more weapons, more knowledge, but something had changed for the first time. They saw humans as more than a local threat. Their ancient records labeled Earth's repeat entity Delta-1, and with the activation of Sentinel-9 and the Dust Trap success, the label changed. Classification update. Humanity level red. Priority. Full elimination. 8. On the outer rim of the Scaran expanse, a forgotten satellite blinked awake. It wasn't human. It wasn't alien either. It had been built by the original humans left behind. Sleeping, hidden behind a coded frequency, only the Idrex would ever use again. It read the signal. It recognized the threat, and then it sent one message to Earth. "If you're hearing this, then you've survived. We left behind more than warnings. We left behind a way to win. Seek the system of 9 stars. There you'll find the weapon that even the Idrex feared." The voice came out of nowhere. It didn't come from human satellites, alien relays, or military channels. It spoke across gravity fields, across light itself, a signal older than most stars. It entered ships through shields, inside minds, through dreams. The voice was not angry. It was not loud. It was final. "You are not the first humans we have faced, and you were never meant to return." That was the moment the galaxy changed, because the Idrex had spoken, and what they said shook the very history of the universe. One in the war room beneath Earth's surface. The generals and scientists stared at each other in stunned silence. "No. Language signature," whispered CoreThink. "No transmission origin, no known encryption. Message entered all cognitive nodes simultaneously." "Wait," said Dr. Voss. "Are you saying they sent that message directly into minds?" AI responded calmly. "Correct." General Cho stepped forward, her voice steel. "And what they said, what does it mean?" A young analyst answered. "It means this war didn't start in our time. To cross the stars," the voice continued, "not through speakers or waves, but inside. As if memory itself had been hijacked. Your kind once shattered, the Orion Reach, burned the 9 moons of Atheris. You conquered stars beyond stars, and then you disappeared. We ended you. Now you rise again. This cannot be allowed. The galaxy had always believed humans were new, a young species. Wild, unpredictable, stubborn, but not ancient. Not ... returned. 3N. The Hall of Records on Null Vetra, an alien librarian named Ruhal, unlocked forbidden archives. Old files. Unclassified only in extinction scenarios. And there it was. A symbol, not of Earth, but of the first humanity. Twin stars over a broken ring. Ruhal read the file in silence, claws trembling. First encounter, species unknown, bipedal. Adaptive. Time markers suggest artificial evolution. Known traits: rage, resilience, recursion. Codename: The Returned. Tolution. Planetary erasure. Total memory suppression. Ruhal blinked, whispering one word: humans. For back on Earth, Commander Ilya Tran watched as old Earth satellites lit up satellites that had never responded to any signal before. One by one, they came online, showing hidden records, unlocked files, strange coordinates. Why now? Ilya asked. Because we triggered something, Dr. Voss answered. The Edrix attacked. Earth's oldest defenses just woke up. A new file appeared on the screen. Not in English. Not in any current language. But Ilya understood it anyway. It wasn't words. It was a memory 5. Ilya saw fire. Planets burning. Massive machines in orbit. Beings in human-like armor. Not walking, but floating, commanding entire fleets with thought alone. She saw Edric's ships falling, not erasing. But being erased, she saw the stars split. And at the heart of it, herself, or someone who looked like her. A woman with her face, her eyes, her voice, but wearing the armor of the first humans. We are the storm they locked away, the vision whispered. And now, the storm returns. 6 in panic, the Zarkali called an emergency session of the Galactic Senate. We demand an explanation. Roared Admiral Varrock. The humans are not what we thought. Another senator from the peaceful Valari raised their head. The Idrix lied, they said softly. They told us they were guardians. But what if they were jailers? Growled. Then we were fools. No, said a new voice. It was Ruhal, the librarian, standing on a public stream. You weren't fools. You were tools. The galaxy helped destroy the first humans. Now they've come back not to conquer but to finish what they started. 7. The Idrex responded again. You were given a second chance. We let your new species rise in silence, in peace. And still, you fight. So now, you will end. Again. With that, the stellar cradled the largest Idrex vessel emerged from behind the star, the Raxis. It was planet-sized. Its hull made of dark gravity panels constantly shifting. Entire moons orbited it like pets. It didn't launch weapons. It simply existed. And the presence alone began pulling nearby. Colonies out of orbit, Earth had 72 hours before it reached the inner system. 8. But humanity didn't fall into fear. They got to work. Dr. Voss gathered the surviving dusttrap teams. Ilya. Tran boarded the Valiant again, now retrofitted with ancient tech, uncovered from old. Earth Archives, Sentinel-9 activated deeper protocols. One's even. Earth didn't fully control, and in the deepest parts of the Shatter Zone, the signal from the system of 9 stars was finally decoded. It wasn't a weapon, it was a gate, and what lay beyond? Something the Idrex thought was gone forever, something that once led the first human empire. Something still alive. At the edge of the galaxy, a dead system blinked. 9 stars, orbiting in unnatural patterns, suddenly lit up in perfect sequence one after the other. They hadn't shone in a million years, and in the center, wrapped in dark light and forgotten memory, something began to rise. A ship. No heat signature. No known metal. No visible engines. It had no name. But when the Idrex saw it, They stopped all transmissions because they remembered it, and they had spent 100,000 years trying to erase it. Point 1 back on Earth. Panic filled the halls of high command. Stellar Cradle, the largest Idrix vessel ever seen, was drifting toward the Sol system like a god made of metal and time. Gravity trembled in its path. Asteroids shattered in silence. CoreThink calculated collision in 63 hours. Full system wipeout probability 98.7%. Defense options insufficient. But then a new signal came through. From deep space. From the system of 9 stars. And it wasn't human. Not anymore. To Commander Ilya Tran, aboard the upgraded Valiant, stared at the hologram. A gate. She asked. Dr. Voss nodded. Yes. But not just to a location. To a vault. A vault of things the first humanity locked away. And that ship we saw? Gorson asked. Voss turned pale. It's not just a ship. It's a construct. Thinking. Weapon. Designed to fight gods? You're saying it's alive? No, I'm saying it's worse. 3. They called it the Pale Vector. It arrived at Earth's edge in silence. No warp signature. No warning. One moment space was empty. The next tight was there. It didn't speak. It simply opened its outer hull and inside. Light moved like liquid. Weapons formed from plasma memory. Shields built from time-folded armor. It scanned the Valiant, and then transmitted one message, directive recognized, Ignation, human, authorization, reinstated. Welcome, Commander. For the Idrex saw it too. For the first time in known history, their fleets moved backward, retreating. But it was too late, because when the Pale Vector activated, it unfolded not into space, but into dimensions. 15 copies of itself appeared, each operating independently, bending light and reality. Distorting Idrex sensors, 3 Idrex dreadnoughts, were crushed instantly without a shot fired. Their hulls simply collapsed in on themselves, like they had never existed. 5. General Cho watched from Earth's command center. She spoke to Sentinel-9 across a direct neural link. Is this one of ours? No, Sentinel-9 answered. It's one of theirs. First humanity made it after the last Idrex war. Then why is it helping us now? The AI's voice was quiet because it was programmed to wait for us to return. And now we have 6 inside the Pale Vector. Ilya stood on a platform of shifting glass. Data flowed around her like rivers. She saw the galaxy from above. She felt time like breath. This thing, she whispered, it's rewriting physics. Yes, said a voice beside her. It was her own voice, but older, calm, familiar. A memory. Recording from her past self a clone? A soul remnant? She didn't know. But it looked her in the eyes and said, You're not just here to survive. You're here to end the war we left unfinished. 7 Earth launched its fleet behind, the Pale Vector. Thousands of ships. Humans, Arcali, Valari, even some, Straya. An alliance born not of peace, but common fear. They met the Idrix in the Thraxis Divide. Their stars pulsed like dying hearts. Battle didn't begin with fire. It began with silence. And then, with light, the Pale Vector opened its core. From it came a song-o-resonance wave that disabled Idrex. Thought-nets? Their ships froze. And then humanity struck 8 across the galaxy. Billions watched the live-streamed battle, from the scorched moons of Verax to the orbit cities of Calaris. Prime. To the children hiding underground on Mars, they saw human ships flying beside ancient machines. They saw Idrex Titans fall from the sky, like shattered glass, and they heard the message that played from every human vessel. This is Earth. You came to erase us. You failed. Now we remember who we are. We are not done. A secret meeting began in the dark core of the Jalari archive world. 12 alien species gathered in silence. Not to stop the Idrex, not to help humanity, but to ask one question. What if we've been afraid of the wrong enemy? They replayed footage from the battle over Thraxis Divide. One human ship, the Pale Vector, tore through space. folding reality, erasing ships, bending stars, and then it stopped. Only because it chose to. The Idriks were ancient, but now the galaxy faced something worse. The return of true human power, point one, on Earth. The mood was shifting. The victory at the Raxus Divide had boosted morale. Crowds cheered. People waved flags. News feeds showed exploding Idrak ships. Even former enemies like the Zarkali offered public praise. But in quiet corners of Earth's leadership, doubts were growing. General Cho stared at images from the Pale Vector's scans. She spoke softly. This ship didn't just fight, it remembered. Wasn't peace. Behind her, Sentinel-9 appeared as a glowing red silhouette. It said nothing, because it agreed too. The Galactic Neutral Council met in emergency session, not to stop the Idraks, but to watch humanity. Ruhal, the Jalari librarian who first uncovered the truth about the first humans, gave a speech that was broadcast to 300 worlds. He thought the humans were wild. Primitive, but they are the descendants of something older. Something that once conquered the stars, what they now awaken. May conquer them too, a Velari diplomat whispered. If they rise again, who will stop them? 3 Meanwhile, Ilya Tran was inside the Pale Vector alone, in a memory chamber. She wasn't dreaming. She was remembering. She saw the first Empire great cities in orbit around black holes, fleets of thought-driven machines. Worlds reshaped by will, and she saw its end. Not by the Idreks, but by humans themselves. Pride, power, fear, one wrong decision. And the stars burned. We ended ourselves, her own voice whispered in the memory. The Idreks only swept up the ashes. For Dr. Voss decoded more of the ship's core. Inside were files tagged Red Genesis. They spoke of a time before the known galaxy, before the Zarkali, before the Idriks, when humanity had already reached the edge of the universe and looked beyond. We were not meant to survive, Voss whispered. We were meant to return, stronger, smarter. 5. In the War Council on Earth, General Cho issued a quiet order: begin fallback plans. In case we lose control of the Pale Vector. But ma'am, the aide said, it's saving us. Exactly, she replied. Right now it is. But what happens when it starts deciding what's best for humanity without us? 6 across the galaxy. Old enemies united. Not against the Idreks, but to build a secret failsafe. The Kornari, Jalari, and even hidden remnants of the Idreks shared forbidden technology. They formed a hidden fleet, codenamed Omega Dawn. And their goal was simple. If the humans become what they were, we stop them, even if it costs everything. 7. The Pale Vector received a strange signal. One not from Earth. It was from a moon called Verifor, deep in Idrek space. There, hidden memory vault had just unlocked, left behind, not by the Idreks, but by the original humans. Ilya flew the Valiant with Voss and Gorsan toward it. When they arrived, they found a chamber full of stasis pods, and in the center, a living woman, human, ancient, and still alive. She opened her eyes, looked at Ilya, and whispered, "You're late." 8. She was called Astra Velen, commander of the last fleet of the first humanity. She had survived the fall, her memory was whole, and she knew exactly what the Idreks feared most. Not the ships, not the weapons, not the power. They fear our minds. She said, they fear what we unlock when we remember who we are. And when that happens, no one in the galaxy will stop us. In the dark zone beyond the Narian Rift, space cracked, not exploded, not shifted. Cracked, a thin black fracture opened between stars like shattered glass. From it, something crawled out, metallic, massive, pulsing with dark energy. It wasn't a ship. It was a thought given shape, the Idrek's Omega construct. Their final weapon, a living intelligence designed to destroy entire civilizations not by war, but by rewriting reality. It floated in space for 20 seconds. Then it erased a planet called Kiroth-7. Every memory of it vanished. No records, no survivors. Even maps forgot it ever existed. That's when Earth realized, ... The Edrex weren't fighting to win. They were fighting to undo. One inside Earth's war command, Corethink panicked, not visibly, but the AI's voice stuttered. Warning. Reality disturbance field detected. Temporal erosion spreading. Target systems no longer returning valid coordinates. This ... is a total cognitive reset device. General Cho looked at her team. Translation. Dr. Voss, pale and shaking, answered, "It deletes history itself. It doesn't just kill planets. It makes it so they were never born." To the pale Vector felt it too. Elia Tran and Astra Velen stood side by side on its glowing platform. "It's begun," Astra said quietly. "They've activated the Omega construct. It's the same weapon they used to wipe us the first time." "This time," Ilya said, "we fight back." The ship pulsed with blue light. Then it changed, grew, new systems appeared. Dormant memory cores lit up. It wasn't upgrading. It was remembering its full design and preparing for something no human ship had ever done. Temporal breach counterattack. 3 Sentinel-9. Deep beneath Europa spoke to Earth's leadership. "I have detected the breach patterns. The Omega construct is pulling at the origin of Earth's timeline." General Cho narrowed her eyes. "They want to erase Earth before it ever existed." "Correct," Sentinel-9 said. A long silence. Then Cho stood up. "Then we don't just hold the line. We push back across time itself." For Dr. Voss revealed Earth's last secret project, Project Paradox, a temporal vessel hidden in Earth's core, built using forbidden physics. Powered by a singularity fragment from the Shona, it had never been tested. Because if it failed, it wouldn't explode. It would rewrite everything. Ilya volunteered to pilot it, but Astravelen stopped her. "No," she said. "You belong. In the present, I belong to the past. I helped end our people once. Now I'll fix it." 5 with the pale Vector opening the path. Project Paradox launched. Astra entered the slipstream with one mission: intercept the Omega construct, prevent the first erasure. Lock the Erex weapon inside a loop. What she saw inside time was terrifying. Spinning stars. Lost wars. Every version of Earth winning, losing, burning, healing, all at once. She found the Omega construct feeding on timelines, like a parasite. And she attacked, not with weapons, but with Memory 6 in the present. The pale Vector and the full Allied fleet held the front lines against the Idrex ships. Fell, moons cracked, but Earth refused to retreat. Even the Zarkali Valari and former enemies fought with unmatched fury. One message echoed through the stars: "We remember, we endure, we rise." And then the sky split. Time shook. A signal came through from Astra. Loop created. Omega construct trapped, but it won't last. You must finish it now. 7 Ilias stepped into the pale Vector's core. "I need to go in," she told the ship. It didn't answer with words. It simply opened the last gate. A direct link to the Omega construct's fractured space. Ilya entered. What she saw: a broken battlefield made of time fragments. Earth, Kiroth, dead galaxies. All frozen in loops, and at the center the Omega construct. Wounded but still feeding, she activated the pale Vector's core. Not to destroy, but to do the impossible. Rewrite the Omega construct's own past. 8 The pale Vector glowed brighter than any sun. It rewrote the battle. It injected memory into the construct, and suddenly the Omega remembered something it was never meant to. That once it was human-built. That once it had a name. That once it protected. And in that moment, the Idrix's final weapon chose to die. It collapsed inward. Releasing all the erased timelines, Kiroth 7 returned. The stars healed, the construct was gone, and Earth still stood. The war was over. The Idrex were gone, trapped, defeated, or erased by their own weapon turned against them. The stars were quiet, but now came the hardest. Question: should humanity restore the galaxy to what it was, or show everyone what it used to be, because the Pale Vector had unlocked the final archive? A vault, hidden beyond time, containing memories, technologies, and truths that had been sealed for 100,000 years. If opened, it would rewrite every record, every history, every species' understanding of the galaxy. It would show the truth that the galaxy had once belonged to humans. One commander, Ilya Tran, stood alone in the Pale Vector's core. A glowing sphere floated. Before her, humming softly, inside it was the Genesis archive. She could feel its weight, not physical, that cosmic. If she opened it, every species would know the truth about Earth's first empire. The wars, the fall, the price, and humanity would never be seen the same way again, too, on Earth. General Cho met with the new Alliance Council, the Zarkali, Valari, Dryothi, and even the surviving Jalari had gathered not to fight but to talk. "We've seen what the humans can do," one Valari elder said quietly. Cho nodded. "So have we." Ruhal, the librarian who first unlocked the Idric's lies, stood. "I believe the truth matters," he said. "Even if it's frightening." Others weren't so sure. "If you reveal what your people once were," Zarkali growled, "you may unite the galaxy against you." Cho said only one thing: "We don't want to rule, just want the truth back." 3. Meanwhile, Ilya connected with Astravellan one last time. Astra was still trapped inside the temporal Lupaliv, but unreachable. Her voice echoed across the Pale Vector. "You have a choice, Ilya. Let them believe the old lies. Let them see what we really were. Not gods, not monsters, just human." Ilya stared at the archive. She remembered the wars, the destruction, the power, and also the courage, the unity. The hope for Sentinel-9 provided its final analysis, opening the Genesis. Archive will alter every major history file across 92% of known species. Public trust in galactic institutions will collapse. But it may also create a new peace, based on shared memory, Leah whispered. Or it could start another war. Yes, the AI said. Truth often does. 5. A vote was called, not just on Earth, across the Alliance worlds. The question was sent. Galaxy-wide, should humanity reveal the full record of the First Empire? For the first time in history, a galactic vote was held in real time. People spoke, families debated, soldiers, scholars, children answered. Some feared humans, some trusted them, some were human themselves, and never knew how deep their legacy ran. 6. The vote closed. The final result: yes to 61%, no to 38%. Undecided to 1%. The Pale Vector accepted. The decision, its final sequence, began. The Genesis archive unlocked 7 across the galaxy. Visions began. Not just files. Not just data, but memories. Aliens saw themselves working beside humans long ago, building worlds, fighting side by side, laughing, dying. They saw the fall, the betrayal, the silence that followed, and finally, the rebirth. The truth wasn't simple. It wasn't pretty, but it was real, and it belonged to everyone now. 8. In the final moment, Leah stood on Earth, looking at a new sky. The stars didn't feel empty anymore. They felt known. She spoke into a galaxy-wide channel one last message. We are not the first version of ourselves. We made mistakes, lost everything, but now we remember. And if you stand with us, we won't fall again. The camera zoomed out past Earth, past Mars, past the Pale Vector drifting silently, beyond Pluto, because the future wasn't about a single world anymore. It was about a galaxy that had finally remembered its past and was ready to choose a better future together.